All right, then let's start. So should I just take it over?
Yes.
The first point.
Yes. Yeah. Good.
There was this idea to do to look into the Google seasons of docs, because for our goals this year, we decided that it would be nice to write a lot of documentation, which means we probably need some help. And writing documentation is nothing we can do with Google Summer of Code. This is explicitly excluded. They have a separate summer event for this, where you can get technical writers the same way you can get programmers and open source developers for helping with your documentation rather with your project, with the code base of your project. So if I recall this correctly, application will be open till next week, but I think we haven't really started doing anything yet.
No, there were two names, I think. I saw two names on that subject.
Yeah, the second was Rohit, but
Yes.
he's not here, so.
Yeah, he mentioned this in the Fortran chat.
Okay.
Okay.
That they are planning.
Oh, you and Rohit, yes.
So I think Fortran Lang has some obvious, easy ones, right? Translation of FPM, stdlib, and the Fortran Lang website into various languages, right?
That's right, yes.
Well, for stdlib, we should first start to have some docs, right?
We do have some. Sebastian, did you not? I thought you
Yes.
did. You set up separate sites for the stdlib and
There's already a
FPM.
stdlib site, which
Yeah, it still need to be.
we need more content for this,
Yeah,
but otherwise it's the framework is there.
Okay, so it just could use more content.
Yeah.
To begin
so
with.
If you look for the timeline, so this is the deadline for application.
Okay.
25th. So we already set up this, which kind of looks like the FPM one. And there's already some how-to content, installing, using it with FPM, building it from source, doing statistics, or interacting with NumPy files. So this is already there, and everything else is probably just empty at the moment. So there's nothing this sections. But in principle, we have the infrastructure similar to FPM.
So could we use, for example, a season of docs to generate some documentation for the website, some docs or some tutorials?
I think they all fit into this topic. The question is, who's going to lead? Who's going to take the lead on this project? Writing our application, setting up everything. I will be unfortunately not able to do this.
How much can we reuse from Google Summer of Code application?
I think pretty much most of it. I wouldn't be too worried about. I mean, at least the general introduction of Fortran language should be more or less the same. Particular goals we want to achieve, of course, they will be different, but this is then more part of finding projects. And the advantage we had with Google Summer of Code is that we already knew people which could recommend us, and Andre was already the administrator for SymPy several times. So this is a bonus we don't have this time.
Now, and do we know how large this part of the SAR project is? I mean, Summer of Code is well known, but this docs project, that's a new one to me. At least last year it was also some discussion about it, but I didn't know before that.
So from my cursory read of their webpage, it runs a bit differently than the Google Summer of Code. In the way that if an organization is accepted, they will receive a budget of $5,000 to $15,000, which they can spend for hiring technical writers.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so while the structure is somewhat similar, I think it's more like the organization has to care more about details rather than students are applying to us. Or
Right, so it's
contributors
more
applying to us.
initiative for us. then.
So we would need somebody to be administrator of the project, specifically with regards to a budget.
Yes, and I mean, we also need much more concrete projects then. If you want to have something written, it must be really concrete what you want to document. It's not like
Okay.
we're going to explore how to do strings in standard lib.
Right.
I guess something like this won't work.
To begin with, we don't have an official foundation with bank accounts to run funds through.
Yes, this is true. So this would probably be the first thing to figure out. So if there's a way to make this possible, then we probably have to figure this out. If we can't, I don't know if it's feasible for us to participate then. I mean, if we had something like NumFocus, which were associated to this part, would be easier.
Yeah, it would be great if we could participate, but I have a feeling 10 days to get a foundation off the ground is pushing it, to say the least.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so I'm reading the document. They say, yeah, they will first deposit 40%, sorry, by June 9, and then the remaining will be deposited later by December 14. So yeah.
I was hoping that maybe Rod would appear on the call today, so we could ask him what the plan for Fortran is, if they have something concrete. But I guess we can continue this discussion then, maybe in Discourse or in the Fortran chat. Otherwise, I think on our own, at our current status of Fortran langing, it seems difficult to pull off.
We should try and keep this on our radar for next year to see if we can.
Yes, I think that's
prepared.
a more realistic plan.
Yeah.
And if we spend the coming year on writing documentation as much as possible, that will give us more body for a project to be useful.
In thinking about preparations for this for next year, is there any way we could set up something to solicit feedback on what would be the more advantageous documentation to focus on for some of this stuff? Like if we've got this many people have requested this particular section of the documentation, that makes a very clear submission to Season of Docs of like, here, this is what we're going to pay somebody to write. Would there be any way to collect feedback on something like that?
We had this thread running for the 22 goals, where a lot of people requested documentation.
Mhm.
Not sure if we can. We probably can set up such a thread again and request feedback and see what is most wanted. Maybe just make a poll based on everything we got in the goals thread,
Mhm.
and then see if there's something we should particularly focus on.
Mhm.
But I guess if we allow multiple choices, it will be more like everything's important.
Well, yeah.
That's right, yes. I think it might also help if we have well, a skeleton documentation framework, like the one you have set up for stdlib, and that people at least are seeing what kind of subjects might be documented. That makes it easier for them to select what is of interest for them, I'd say. Because otherwise, indeed, you get a whole list of subjects and nothing really jumps out of that. So it would be very difficult to make choices that people are happy with.
I was hoping, and especially with the FPM docs, can get some momentum by allowing people to contribute translations, because this makes easy to contribute by just translating content which is already existing, and then kind of get familiar with the subject yourself and maybe feel more comfortable contributing something. So far, we got a lot of good documentations, good translations, which is very great. But not much content contributions. So we still have to work a bit on the structure, make it clearer how one can contribute.
Also open up a few subjects, I'd say, where people should be able to contribute. Right now, the question was, can you deliver a translation of what's already there? But I, for one, haven't thought about things that could also be documented. Just being busy with the Dutch translation.
Yeah, I'm not sure for FPM. I think that for stdlib there was something like that somewhere, at least.
I think I tried to make some issues with some nodes where I think could be useful.
Yeah.
But of course, those lists tend to be incomplete, and I was hoping for others to jump in and maybe add something. But we didn't get so far until now.
Well, if we're not gonna submit in 10 days, then we have a whole year to think about it. So I think it'd be fine to table this and just try and remember to bring it up again.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, but
then this time.
Yes, yeah, but also, yeah, if you want to submit there, it seems that we need something more official, like an organization, something like that. And again, yeah, we should think about that, not at the last moment then, but within a few months, something like that, come back again on that. Yeah. Okay, then I will try to think about that in a few months. Come back on that. Yeah, is it enough for this topic? Sebastian, you want?
Yeah, I think everything's discussed.
Okay, good. Thank you. So, yeah, another note for GSOC, it was also accepted, as you know, and I believe that we can still update the projects. So we can still add some projects, or update them at least. So that's it. Yeah, and I see Lawrence. I believe that the paper is accepted now. So congratulations for that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thanks for pushing that all through.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah,
you
thanks
know-
everyone for your contributions as well.
Do you know when it will be published or?
I'm not sure how long this normally take with IEEE. I've not published with them before, but there's like an online tracker, so I'll try and keep everyone updated with the kind of typesetting process. We should receive a kind of proof copy at some point to look over and check. So I'm not sure how long it will take.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they print the do they publish the raw version on online as well, like many other publishers do, or?
Yeah, I believe it's both online and in print. Yeah.
Right.
Hi, Ivan here. Not sure if you can hear me. Yeah, I was wondering about so the IEEE paper, because I got these emails for the ORCID ID, and I think there was one more with like the IEEE publishing system. Should the co-authors respond to those, or you think it's not that important?
Well, if you plan to stay in academia, it might be a good idea to register your ORCID with the IEEE account, so the paper is properly credited to you.
But do they put like do they really put like a metadata tag into the PDF or the web page?
I'm not publishing IEEE, so I can't say this. But usually, at least the online version will have those links. Maybe they will also be included in the PDF. So if you have one, then I would recommend to just connect it with this account. And yeah, on these emails, what I noticed, there's also already a DOI for our publication. It's not active yet, but at least reserved.
Yeah, I will stay in academia for a while, so perhaps it's good and then I complete that. Okay, thanks.
If nothing else, then the article will be connected to your ORCID ID.
Yeah, good to know.
Other question on this paper, I don't recall exactly. Is this paper going to be open access or?
No, because I kind of assumed that we wouldn't have funding to pay for the open access charge. I think it was about $2,300.
Do we still are we still allowed to upload this to archive?
Yes, so
maybe we should do this.
They will give us a authorized preprint, and we're allowed to publish that. We can't. There are some rules. I'll try and dig them out again, but I think you can publish them on your own site. I'm not sure you can publish them on archive. I'll have to check. There's like a rule about which sites you can put the preprint on, I think.
Maybe if this paper won't be open access, we should try to get it on the preprint server so everybody can read it at least.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I was looking up these rules, and I'm pretty sure we can put a preprint up. It's just where we can put it up we need to be careful about, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, then there are no more questions about that, comments. We can move to the last point about the release of stdlib and FPM. So Sebastian opened some issues on that. For both, at least for stdlib, I think you also did for FPM.
Yeah, I didn't do it for FPM, but for standard lib, I think we could make a release. We have a lot of features already available. I remember that we had some requests to establish a regular release schedule, at least on FPM. And yeah, I'm not sure if we have enough for FPM, but nevertheless, we can still make a release. At least the pretty printing Lawrence put in is available and would be a nice advancement. And for standard lib, there are already a lot of features. So I don't think we would have too less for releasing.
No, yeah, for standard lib, there was more than 30 pull requests in the last release. So I believe that's more than enough.
The question is, how do we do this going forward? So I think at least for standard lib, I crafted all the releases, and also for the FFT pack. For FPM, Lawrence and I usually did it if everything looked like we could use a new release. Maybe we can establish some easier rules to make it more apparent when would be a good time to put out a release.
How do you do for FPM? Are there rules there, or is it does the same as when you think that is enough, you just do a release?
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't know. For FPM, it's usually if there's some significant feature added, then we usually go for release.
Yeah, it's not really the case for stdlib, right? Maybe a new module or something like that, but that's not a feature by itself.
stdlib is a little trickier because it's more of a collection of disparate things.
Yes.
So it's kind of hard to judge. I mean, FPM is still a little vague, right? I mean, when we have a new significant new feature is kind of vague and subjective. So, I mean, ideally you would say these are the things we'd like to have in the next release, and then release when those are done. But we haven't really had a good planning schedule for either of those. So, in absence of that, you kind of want some somewhat objective measure by which to judge when a release is warranted. But like I said, I don't know what a good one would be.
Every 3 months for standard lib?
I mean, that's as reasonable as anything, is just a schedule.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, so I saw that you open a pull request, or at least a draft, to prepare the release. You did a few things on the change log document, as well as on the version. You updated the version. Are there other things to do?
Actually, no, that's everything. If you just merge this, then copy over the change log, then go to the releases tag, create a new release, copy in the whole change log, and you're basically done.
Yeah.
I mean, since we're now keeping a change log, making the release is quite straightforward. One thing which might be important is to look up all the contributors and mention them in the release. It'd be nice. But I think this is automatic. You can let GitHub collect those.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, the question is whether there's some feature we want to have in the next standard lib version, or if we have enough now.
Yeah, we added quite a bunch of stuff since the last release.
I mean, if we decide to release in shorter cycles, it doesn't matter if something doesn't get into the current release. There will be a next release soon. I mean, the main purpose for having releases is that some people tend to prefer using the software at a particular version tag rather than just from the Git latest, because this is going to change every so often. But if you say, okay, I'm using stdlib version 0.2, then you can log in for a time on this version, wait for 03 to be released, and update. So you don't have to do it all the time. And if we provide a regular schedule, then it might be easy for people to adapt to this.
Yeah, yes, I agree. I mean, I usually use the commit for that. So a release would be easier. Yeah, so let's say that we move on and we finish the draft. So I guess that we just need to change the draft into a pull request, and then we need to accept it or to approve it by at least 2 people. Then we can merge it and create a release, right? That's yeah, we can do that.
At least on the in the stdlib repo, I can't find any instructions. I mean, of course, because there was only one release, but maybe I guess in the contributing section. So the things Sebastian just mentioned, we could make that into a mini wiki, so that we at least document that we plan to do releases regularly, and maybe give some hints to new contributors how to do it.
Yeah.
I can make an issue for this.
Okay, good. Yeah, please go ahead. And is that something already for SPM that you just could copy paste or at least get inspiration from there?
I think we didn't decide on having a release schedule for FPM.
I know there was an issue. I think Damien opened it asking about having regular releases, but I think there was no conclusion.
Yeah, I think the main issue with FPM is the development is quite sporadic because we don't have, a lot of developers and maintainers on it. So having like a calendar regular release doesn't make as much sense. And I think now that development has slowed down a little bit, it might make sense to just release after each kind of additional feature added, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Taking notes. Yes. Yeah, okay. So Ivan, we can open. Will you open an issue?
Yeah, I'll open an issue in the stdlib repository and see maybe if I can update the README.
Yeah, should we wait on that it's ready to do the release, or should we go ahead for the release and?
As you wish. So, what would you prefer?
Yeah, I don't know. What are the things?
So I don't think the instructions I would write up would carry any implications for the actual release. So I think these two can be done separately.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That's. Yeah. So we could go ahead with the release for stdlib.
All right, Marked is ready to go. Just wait for reviews and then go ahead. and actually release it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And for FPM, what should be decided, or what was decided?
I think we currently have a couple of features which could go in, and then or we would have, I think, the pretty printing. We would have the support for CMains, the git config read, and maybe the FPM clean seems something like it's going in pretty soon. So we would have a good feature set. Probably other couple of minor things, but there would be something.
I think it's more than enough. Only the FPM clean is already quite a new feature by itself. So yeah, okay. So yeah, so a new release could be planned soon.
Are there any instructions on let's say on updating your locally installed FPM after a new release?
Well, it's kind of like installing a new one, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've been doing personally is I made myself some notes in Gist, and usually I just place the new binary into a folder in opt, and then I do a symlink. That's what just felt easiest for me. But I was wondering if there is any, let's say, any more authoritative source.
Well, the FPM documentation would be the most authoritative source, and only contains the installation instructions. So contributing some update instructions would work. I mean, we could put them into the install. So if you already have like a section, if you already have FPM, this is the way you update. Depends a bit on the toolchain, because if you're using a package manager like Conda or Pacman on Windows, then you can just do the usual package manager update. If you install it yourself from source, then you have to replace the binary. But yeah.
But this would so you think it would make a good like how to?
Yes, would be, we could just add it to the installation instructions, or maybe make a separate tutorial, but I think it might be a bit too less, because you for a separate tutorial, and it would be quite parallel to what already is in the installation instructions, because you might have to walk through all the different options, like doing it with Homebrew, doing it with Pacman, doing it with Conda, doing it for installation from source.
Yeah, it feels like there are only a handful of differences between updating and installing, and only for a few methods of installation. Right? So if like you said, if you're using the package manager, it will automatically update it for you. And if you're doing it another way, it's still almost identical to the way you originally installed it. So just a brief section after the installation instructions would be sufficient, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess the section in about downloading binaries. I mean, it's already written that you can rename the binary to FPM. So personally, I just prefer to symlink it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I might make an issue and contribute something if I can find some time.
Yeah.
The new features of FPM, they should be documented also. So there's also a need for additional translations of that.
Yeah, that's true. If you add something to documentation, it should also be translated. I mean, the good thing about the translation system is if it's not translated, it will appear in English. So it's not too bad. But still it wouldn't be, that's then just an incremental process for every translator to look again into their part of the documentation and add additional phrases.
Maybe it would make sense in the release pull request to tag the translators, and because maybe they are not following like the weekly development of FPM.
Yeah. One thing we did for for FPM, one thing we do differently, because we have the documentation, the release is a bit more work, because there's the automated release, which you just tag, then everything happens. Then we write release notes, and we can also post them on the FPM docs, so they appear in the news. And then there's this whole thing about updating the homebrew package, updating the conda package, updating Spark, the AMSys2. So most of this is separate, but of course, all has to be done. I'm not sure if I wrote something about this in the wiki. There is actually a release process wiki page about releasing FPM. Wait a second. This documents which steps have to be taken to get a new FPM release. That's it. So we have this page. Yeah. This is just the release workflow for creating an actual release. Includes testing of the release tag on a forked repository. And then there's also this release aftermath, which includes how to announce in the discourse, what to do about the conda package. And I think I didn't add the other ones yet, but I can do this.
The other ones meaning like sending a message to the people involved in translation, or?
Yeah, I think this should be a point here. We should add about what we have to do in the docs. Who has to know about a new version and which other packages are existing. I think there's a page about packaging which mentions some of the package, some of the repositories FPM is packaged for, but not all of them. This has to be updated. But other than that, I think the process of FPM, at least the one which is required on GitHub and the repository, this is well documented.
Yeah. Okay, good. Other comments on that? Nobody? Yeah, I think that we covered the whole agenda. That's nice. Any other business? No. If not, yeah, I took some notes and some minutes, short minutes for others. So please update them or correct them if I'm wrong. It's always possible. And otherwise, if there's nothing else, thank you to join, and Thank you, Sebastian, to update us for most of the things. And then we'll see each other in 1 month.
Mhm.
Good.
All right. Thanks,
Cool.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.